Hey y'all, it is time to do our January wrap up, all 12 books that I managed to read. Yep, TBR started with 8 planned, and then 4 others just kind of worked their way in there for various reasons, library holds, whatever. But we're going to talk about them. Some of them I will try to be as brief as possible because December's list was really long. Like, that video was long. I feel like it was too long. So I'm going to try not to do that this time. If you are new here, I realized I haven't said my name in like any video in a really long time. But I'm Morgan, and thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoy this rambling adventure through the books of January. The first book of January, of course, was Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This was so much fun. Oh my goodness, it was. I loved it. I gave it a 4.5 stars. I think it ended up being the highest rated of the month. I'm going to double check that. I will. But I did a whole review video for it. The link should be up there. So for all the thoughts, you can go check that one out. It is spoiler free though. Yes. This is about, though, our main character Tress, who goes on just this magical, whimsical adventure, because that is what it is. This is a very light, fun fantasy reminiscent of Good Omens and The Princess Bride. I totally did get those vibes, very much so. It's old school fantasy, which is what he wanted to go for. He wanted to say the adventure of the girl on the adventure, and it really was her story. She didn't have to be the damsel in distress. And it was just so much fun. It really was. I loved it so much, and I hope eventually Tress's world might come back into play in the Cosmere, because it is a Cosmere connected book, because I think there's just so much more to explore with that world, with the spores. Go check out the video though to find out all the information about it, of Tress's story, and I highly recommend this book as one of the ones you should pick up. Next came one that was a library hold for like several months now, and that's Summer Night by Jim Butcher. Yeah, say the name right. This ended up being a 4-star read. I listened to the audiobook for this one. I highly recommend that as well, because the narrator just does a great job. This is the 4th installment though in the Dresden Files series. It takes place about 6 months after the events of the 3rd book, as Harry Dresden, our resident wizard in Chicago, is going through some really rough times. He is not taking care of himself. He is kind of just working all the time on his research, more than actual work that pays him. So he's almost losing his house, almost losing his office where his building is. And he has some friends though that are trying to help him out of this funk. And in this book also, a person from his past ends up showing back up, and problems with his fairy godmother end up happening as well. So yeah, things I can't say as much because it is the 4th in the installment. The series overall though is very good. It is an urban fantasy series where we are following Harry Dresden, a wizard in Chicago, as he works with the police to help solve cases, deals with magical mayhem around the city, where he's just, he lives there, so he doesn't want stuff to go bad and wrong, and vampires and fairies, and this one does focus more on the fairy courts. So there's that. If you like grumpy characters, you will probably like Dresden or urban fantasy. My next book was an ARC from NetGalley, so a huge thank you for them for letting me get that. And this is Damsel by Evelyn Skye. Yes, I said her name right. And this is actually a very interesting story. She wrote the book after being approached by the writers of the Netflix movie. They wanted a book to go with their movie. And so the movie, the screenplay, all of that was already in the works, being done, when they approached the author with this idea. And the Netflix movie and the book are both following your main character. How do you pronounce her name again? All right. I'm not sure if this is correct, but I think it's pronounced Elodie, because it looks like Melody just without the M. So in my head, I was always reading it as Elodie. And as I kind of said with Sanderson, about a girl who, it's her story, but she's not the damsel in distress. With this one though, the description, I feel like maybe they give too much away in the description. I did do a video review for this, but it's not up yet because the book doesn't come out till April, I think. And I'll put that up then. But our main character lives in a very, not really impoverished, but kind of, it's a very drought-stricken, desertish land. So when an opportunity arises for her as the Duke's daughter to have an advantageous marriage with a wealthier kingdom that will help send food and stuff for her people, she agrees to it, only to find out that things in that kingdom aren't as good as they seem. Of course, yes, everything is golden, like the palace has stupid amounts of gold, and there's tons of food, and the food is actually somewhat magical, but there is a very dark side. And Elodie is portrayed as kind of an intelligent character, but there was a lot of things, though, that she just kept letting slip by her, because she's like, oh, he's only reacting that way because I said something that was off-putting. Okay, I'm not going to say too much more about this. If you do read the description, though, it will say things more. Like I said, I think the description gives away kind of way too much. The Netflix movie for this is actually coming out in October 13th, and even they have put up like a kind of trailer with it in their big coming soon Netflix, where it just goes through a bunch of movies on their trailer. And even in that trailer, I feel like they gave a thing away that they shouldn't do. Okay, so also about that though, I gave it like a 3.5 because while the overall theme of the story was good, there was just issues I had with it and its execution and the way things, yeah. So moving on, because our next one is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. Actually, I said his name this out. This was a 4.5 stars, and it was so cozy, like everyone said it was. And yes, coffee, the descriptions of coffee and cinnamon rolls, it was just, oh my goodness, it was a warm hug. It was very, very light fantasy, as we are following our main character, Viv. She is an orc who has been an adventurer her whole life, and I'm gonna say she must be like somewhere maybe late 30s, middle-aged. Never, of course, is an age. She's just tired from adventuring. Adventuring is a very hard life, even for someone who is still super strong and capable, because she is an orc. But she wants something else. She doesn't want to keep after adventuring. She's tired. And she discovered coffee in this world. It is a new gnomish invention, and she just fell in love with coffee. So now she has developed, she's been saving for a long time anyway, but now she's developed the full idea to make a coffee shop. And it was a little sad how she put herself down at first whenever was he a gnome? Yes, she found someone to help her renovate this barn, horse stabling place within the city that she was going to turn into a coffee shop. And like, she was showing him her sketches, her ideas and everything, and she's like, it's not much, I mean, maybe you can do something with this. And he was telling her how good they were, how thought out they were, but like, because yeah, she put a lot of thought into it. And that is the storyline of this book, though. That is the storyline, is Viv retiring, opening up a coffee shop, and just her going through the stages of opening and running a business and learning how. Low stakes, as it says, very low stakes. The only stakes come between someone from her past trying to get stuff from her now. It's time for the cat to eat, so the background noise is there. Talked way too long about that one, but the next one is Unseelie by Ivelisse Hausman. I did do a full review on this one. Maybe spoiler free though. I don't really remember. In this one though, we are following twins. Mostly they're both in the book, but our main character is Seelie, and she is a changeling. Like, she knows that she was switched with her twin at birth, but their mother was so determined to, get her daughter back that she went and got them both and raised them both until something happened, unfortunate, with Seelie's fairy powers. And the girls have been on the run since then. And now they are involved in something very large because they kind of became pickpockets to survive. And now they are on a hunt for a very vast magical storehouse secret thing. And Seelie actually stumbles into a giant secret that has been hidden from the mortal world for a very long time. Check out the video. I don't remember if I said it in the video. I don't think I did, probably. But check out that video. It was a good book. This was a YA, and I did give it a 3.5 stars because while I loved what she was doing, there was just some issues for me personally that I just could not stay engaged with this book. It's not even that there was anything particularly wrong with it, it was just, it didn't grab me. It wouldn't, I could zone out on the book and be fine. And my next one is the first physical copy I get to hold up, oh my god, is The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This one, where did I write it down? This one was a 4.5 stars, and it is taking place in the world of Elfhame that she started way long ago with Tithe. And of course, this has most of our characters though from the Folk of the Heirs trilogy, Cardan and Jude. But in here, we are following Surin, the child queen of the Court of Teeth, and Prince Oak. It has been 8 years after the Folk of the Air trilogy though, and we are seeing how they have grown up and what has happened and the trials that they have been through. Full video of this one as well that you can go check out for the full description, because like I said, I'm going to try not to keep this very long. But I like Surin. I really like Surin's character, the way she worked, the way she grew. Oh my goodness. Her ending part of the story, she was awesome. Surin was great. Oak's end, though, I wanted to kick it. The next one is The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. I gave this a 4.25 stars. It is a thriller book and a standalone. I really like this one. Another full video review for this one. This one, though, we are following two childhood best friends as they are on a girls' trip to Italy to have a writer's retreat and just reconnect, because lately they haven't been able to be on the same page or see each other even as much. Our main character, Emily, though, is a cozy mystery writer, and she's been having some struggles in her writing, and just the things that happen at the villa, though, in the present and the past are just very intriguing. I really, really liked this book. Go check out the review, though, for the full story on it. My next book is another ARC from NetGalley, and this is Stardust in Their Veins by Laura Sebastian. This is the sequel to Castles in Their Bones. It is another YA fantasy, and it got 4 stars. This book actually comes out next week. This week. I don't know when this video is going up, so this week. Castles in Their Bones, though, is where we're following 3 sisters who happen to be princesses, who were raised from birth by their mother, who is the empress of this very large kingdom. And she raised them to marry off into surrounding kingdoms and quickly turn them to chaos and war so she can swoop in and expand the empire to cover pretty much the whole continent. Things do not go as planned for any of them. Nothing goes as planned. It is very cool, and the magic system of this book is based on the stars, but as you learn slowly throughout the books, the stars, like meaning stardust, like star falls to earth, like, so I guess comets and stuff, and the stardust makes wishes. Or very powerful people, which there's not very many in the world, but very powerful people can call down a star, and those wishes are much more powerful. By calling down stars, though, of course, it is very, you're only supposed to do it in life or death situations, not even life or death situations, like countrywide horrible situations would it be considered okay. Because the number of stars in the sky is, of course, a finite thing, as you don't really find out the true effect of this until book 2, when one of the princesses is seeing like one of the first original maps of the stars and seeing how many stars there used to be versus how many are now. And she's like, oh my god, this is horrible. Very, very politically minded. So like there's a lot of political intrigue and espionage, and yes, only the smidgenest of romance, even though they're supposed to be, you know, marrying these princes. There's only like one sister who has like a romance happening. And yet, it's just the ending of the first book and then the ending of this book. It's supposed to be a trilogy now, I know, but the way they end, I'm just gonna say that. And we should move on. Hi. Another fantasy book by Brandon Sanderson was Warbreaker that I read this month. I don't even know what word was coming out. This is a 4.5 stars as well. In this one, we are on the planet of but it is another Cosmere novel, and the magic system in this one is based on your breaths and also colors. Colors is like a lesser factor though, but mostly your breaths. Everybody is born, you know, with their breath, and some people believe that is your soul, that is holy, but you can live without it. Like, you can sell your breath, and people will try to acquire more breaths, and breaths can be used to make things move, make things do this. And the more breaths you have, the brighter colors are, the more vivid colors are. So in like one country, everything is super colorful and stuff like this, because when you use your breath though, you are going to leach the color out of your clothes or an object you are touching. And when you don't have any breath, everything is dull. In this particular country though, there are the returned, which are people who have died in, they say, heroic fashions of some sort, and they worship these people. One of our main characters is Lightsong, who is one of these people, and he adamantly believes that he is not a god, that this is a weird religion and does not know why he is worshipped. And our other main character, Suri, is a princess from another kingdom who is being sent to marry the God King, which is one of the returned, to save her country from war. She was not raised for this. She was not originally planned to be the princess sent for this, but her father just could not bear to send her older sister, who was the good princess, and Suri was kind of the troublemaker princess. But she's the youngest, you know. She didn't have a clear purpose in life, so she just decided to do whatever, be rebellious. But this is, you know, she's sent and terrified to go and meet her future husband and be around all of this that is heresy to her country, and the political machinations of this book too. I really liked it though. I really wish we could spend more time, because as towards the end of the book you are finding out so many things that have happened in this world and that work actually differently than what you were told by the main characters, you know, who have only lived in this time period. So many things. So I really like this book. I don't know if I described it great. Next up is my only other physical copy, because library books went back, and that's Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. I was so looking forward to this one. I wanted to get to it. I bought the whole trilogy. We'll see how they go. They're pretty, at least, right? It was a 3.5 stars though. It was. This is a YA fantasy, supposed to be romance. One of the biggest things though, like there's two things that probably really brought it down. I didn't get the romance. I didn't. Okay, it was fine until the end, and then the end of it kind of just completely ruined why they did that. The book follows Amelia. She is a witch living in Italy on an island off the Italian coast. It doesn't really say the time period, but yeah, it's like an alternate time period anyway. She is a witch, and obviously we deal with the wicked, which are the 7 princes of hell. At the very kind of beginning of the book, her and her sister have recently turned 18, and her twin sister Vittoria is murdered. And the rest of the book, it follows Amelia as she is trying to get vengeance for her sister, and she ends up summoning one of the wicked to get answers, and makes a deal with Wrath to where they are going to work together to find her sister's killer. Wrath needs to help find it because of something to do going on in hell. He really wants to find the killer because it is not just her sister that was murdered. It is other witches before and after her sister are being murdered. So, yeah. There's the ad. Now, I did not like how Amelia changed through this story, as she was constantly like, okay, I have to be braver, I have to be more like Vittoria to be able to get her justice, get vengeance. Everything that Amelia loved at the beginning, like every time I talked about food and cooking, which it did still talk about those things through the book, they are mentioned a lot, but it's different. Like, she doesn't hardly do it anymore. She doesn't, seem to love it like she used to. At one point after the murder had happened, though, she did finally have this point where she was thinking about a recipe again, and then she felt guilty. But she's trying to be like her sister She stops reading, she stops cooking pretty much. She's just like, Victoria would do it this way, Victoria would do this. She would be able to see this through. I need to be more like her. And I didn't like that. I wish she could have been just herself. Sure, maybe a little braver. If you need to be braver, you know, to get your vengeance, go for it, girl. But like, don't turn into somebody else to do it. I don't know, we'll see how the next book goes. After that, I needed an audiobook for my drive, so I was listening to The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins because I really, really like The Villa. So I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to another one of her books. That sounds good. It was also a 3.5 stars though. In this one, we are following our main character, Jane, as she is starting a new life in Birmingham. She is a dog walker at this very ritzy neighborhood until she meets Eddie Rochester, the most eligible bachelor in the neighborhood, and they have this whirlwind romance, and Jane is slowly finding out what happened to Eddie's wife, who died in a boating accident. And yeah, just things are happening, as of course it's a thriller, so there's twists and turns, and you're finding out maybe things aren't quite as they seem here. I did not like Jane. She was a bad person. And it's not even because she was like on the run from her past. She was just generally, the way she thought about people was a bad person. I get you were in foster care and you had a damaged childhood, and so you have trust issues, which one, you're paranoid and you have trust issues. So why in the world did you just trust Eddie implicitly? That don't make no sense. And yeah, just the way she thought about the other women that she worked for and then lived around. Didn't like her. And I didn't actually like the twist that came about. No, it was nuts. I guess you should have seen it coming. I don't know. You kind of had this build up and then this happened, and it's just, why? So yeah, I did not like that one near as much as The Villa. Like, not near as much at all. But after that one, or kind of during it still, because I picked up the physical copy of A Light Fantastic by Terry Pratchett. This is a 4 stars. This is a comedic type of fantasy. It really is. And there is a disclaimer though on the description that it was written in the 80s, and so some of the things like in it will represent that, and you know, it's not meant to be offensive. And after I read that, I was trying to picture what in it could be. I mean, I guess some people get offended by anything. Maybe, I really don't know. It was just like the first one, though. The Light Fantastic still follows our main characters, Rincewind and Two Flowers, an inept wizard. Is that the right word? A not so good wizard, because he cannot remember anything but one spell since he was at university. And the Disc's first tourist, because the world they live on is flat. It is a disc, and it is on the back of 4 giant elephants that ride on the back of a giant sea space turtle. Yes. And it is a proven fact for their world. Like, they can see the turtle's head over the horizon and his flippers and stuff. And it's just funny. It's funny in so many ways. This one though picks up immediately after where the book left off, book 1 left off. Actually kind of at the same point, because we go back a little bit and then something happens because of what those 2 characters are doing. Reality completely shifts. And yeah, I'm so glad it picked up there though. Otherwise, you know, I would have completely wondered what in the world happened to these people. So this one though does have a bit more of a storyline. The other one was just kind of adventurous, and they just kept winding up in places and things kept happening, especially to Rincewind, because he was like, why does everything keep happening to me? Hopefully this video did not go on too long. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Losing my train of thought already. Oh my gosh. Based off when I think this video is going up, I should have all of the January unboxings up now for you to see. And also, please check out the new releases this week, because there are so many coming out within this first full week of February that are exciting and cool sounding. I surprise, baby. Sunshine wanted to come say bye. So go check out this week's new releases because they're awesome. If you're liking my content, please consider subscribing and joining us for future new releases, unboxings, and the reviews of February books. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.